Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the DaPoNoPodcast. This is more of a two islanders talking some stuff.
We talking story.
We're just talking some story. And what's the story about? Nothing really in depth, but we just want to take the opportunity and share a little experience that Noah and I got. And for those of you who are out there who like to get out into the outdoors, we're going to be talking about a camping trip we decided to take.
Just a little bit of a different episode.
Yeah.
We normally do interview style, and we just wanted to do something a little different. And so we have compiled a over 3 nights, 4-day winter camping excursion that we participated in together. And we have, like I said, videos and pictures. And so we're just going to kind of take you through our journey and give you a little bit of backstory on some of the pictures and just kind of walk you through our little camping trip and our little adventures. So hopefully you'll enjoy this.
Yeah. And so what's the reasoning behind it? So I think as we've gotten older, and it comes from experiences we had as kids, our parents really did try to instill in us an appreciation and respect for nature. Mm-hmm. I don't think we really knew that as kids at the time, but we didn't do a lot of vacations. We didn't go to freaking Disneyland or anything like that. I think the majority, or any type of vacation we did as a family, the biggest one was going back to Hawaii. But even then, Mom and Dad only remember coming with us a couple times.
Yeah, those were few and far between. With us as a group.
Yes.
Normally it was just individuals going back because it was expensive to go back. Living in Washington and flying back to Hawaii was a lot of money. And so, our parents would do the best they could from year to year to year to send one of us, or if they could, they would send all of us. And so the group going was few and far between, but they were memorable though.
Oh, definitely. And so for those times that, we didn't get to go home, we got to do and explore some things around here. We would go to the beach. We would go not quite up into the mountains, but we were always by bodies of water, whether it was rivers or the ocean. But as Noah and I've gotten older, we've really enjoyed going up into the mountains, and just the peace we experience when we're up there is pretty amazing. And so with that, being of Islander descent, you were born and raised here in Washington, and I don't think it separates us much from who we are as Hawaiians. And I'm speaking that now. I didn't believe that when I was younger. I felt like, we sort of talked about it like, well, when we go home, we were imposters. Like we weren't really Hawaiian because we didn't live there. No, we're Hawaiian. Just because we weren't born there, our lineage can be traced back there. And so we are from the islands. We may not have been born and raised there, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. And these experiences that we've had when we're out there, we really feel come from the indigenous side of us, where we have a respect and
a reverence.
Yes, an appreciation for the land that we're by, and making sure that we take care of it. And I think we sort of allude to it in one of the videos here, where we tried our best to make sure that we left it better than we found it. And I think that's something that's been instilled in us from our parents as well. And we see it practiced when we go home. People who are live on the islands, they really respect the land that they're on and the bodies of water. And sometimes you'll see them get a little upset at foreigners who come there because the foreigners don't come with any type of respect. Mm-hmm. And just imagine, that island, that beautiful island that you guys are traveling to for a vacation, you're going to someone's home. Mm-hmm. Someone lives there. And before you came, their families took care of that land, whether it be the bodies of water, up in the mountains, the fields where they would grow their food. That was their home. So just imagine if someone came into your home and maybe act a little out of pocket on some stuff, you'd probably have some issues with them. And so what we're saying with that is, like, if you have a bad experience when you go to these places, maybe it's time you look a little bit inward on how you treated. Like, you're a guest there. You're not entitled to any experience there just because you paid some money to go visit somewhere. Mm-hmm. It is a place that you should always respect whenever you go to someone else's home. Mm-hmm. And when we were up in it
translates to the mountains. Yeah. When you go out into, the wilderness, that is something else's home.
Yeah.
So we feel that, it is our responsibility. And I think that comes from a lineage of being Polynesian and from a peoples that are indigenous, that have a deep connection with the land. And when we say land, that's everything from the rocks to the dirt, to the trees, to the plants, to the fish, to the wildlife. Yeah. Okay. So again, we don't just go off on these fun little adventures just to go, camping. We go out there to experience and to tap into and connect with nature and the land and the wildlife. And so you'll kind of get a little bit of a sense for that. So yes, this was a fun excursion,
It was.
but there was really kind of a sense of respect and awe that we had as we were going out there, because we realized this is nature, and nature does not care about our feelings out here. It does not care how cold we are. It will keep dropping the temperature regardless of how we feel and what we say about it. So, when you're in the midst of that kind of power, I think you should have some kind of reverence and some awe, because anything that can take your life, you should respect. So all of that is to say, I think it is imperative for us in our journey. And I think everybody should try to do this on their own, but figure out any way you can to connect with nature and the land in some way. And a lot of times that's getting out of your comfort zone, which is something I think we are very, very, we encourage a lot of people to do that. Get out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
I think this is a good, sort of a good segue. And what was one of your most driving reasons for wanting to go do this?
Honestly, we'll talk a little bit more about this, I think, as we go through the videos and the pictures. But I was honestly I was kind of anticipating some kind of big spiritual something, some kind of awakening, some kind of moment. I don't know if I was expecting maybe, something with Dad, or I don't know. I had this expectation, and I tried to not go into it with any kind of, expectation, but I was excited. I was super duper excited for this. Mm-hmm. And so I anticipated something that didn't happen necessarily. And I was still okay with it, which was cool, because I think what I did get out of it was just kind of the sense of appreciation, one for our abilities to be able to do that. But I think for me personally, there was a bit of pride that I just kind of had in myself of doing something difficult. We had planned this, and we had a lot of different opportunities to pull the plug and to say, nah, let's not. Oh man, it's getting pretty cold. The temperatures are changing, man. It's getting colder. Do we really want to do this? And but we stuck through it, and we got through it, and it was well worth all of the effort and energy that we expended, even if I didn't have some experience.
Yeah.
We made a lot of great memories, and I think, as we'll allude to a little bit more in our stories, this was something special for just you and I, because thinking about it, we talked about it a little bit. We haven't done a whole lot of stuff with it when it was just been you and me. There's always been other people around. Yeah. And I think this specific trip, being able to bring Dad, and it just being us two and him, was really, really special. So what about you, man? Was there any kind of big anticipation or even, a big takeaway from this at all?
Main thing was what you just alluded to, is just the opportunity for us to go and do things outside of us as a whole family unit, when we would be, with kids, with Mom and Dad and the like. And then separately, when we've had our big family functions, you and I do our best to connect and stuff, but we really don't have a lot of time to where we have these multiple day experiences with each other, and so it was just you and I, and that's what I was really looking forward to, because when we do this and Noah and I just get together, we have an awesome, amazing brotherhood, and I love that. And the fact that we were doing this to get away and just see if we could, but also it was a great opportunity for us to get away from work. Mm-hmm. He and I both work for the state, and it's a pretty stressful job, and I like all jobs can be and are, but we were able to totally disconnect, literally. Mm-hmm. Once we passed over that that peak and came down the other side in that foothill, we lost cell service. We didn't have anything, so it was really, really on us. We couldn't entertain ourselves on our phones. I mean, we could, but we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But there was never any time during that I was like, oh my God, this is getting boring.
Yeah.
At all. It was, went from one thing to another. We just kept moving and kept busy and just checking everything out. So yeah. And I was along that same line. I wasn't expecting something. I was open to some sort of experience, but it didn't happen. But I think what did happen was just the immense peace I felt through a lot of the trials and tribulations we went through, because you and I both are very analytical. We're big problem solvers. And sometimes when we get a little friction in whatever we're doing, it can deviate us from continuing down this path. But we didn't. We had, like you said, a couple times where we could have thrown in the towel, which we'll allude to, and we didn't. So just getting to spend that opportunity, just you and I, and then the peace, that was pretty cool. The peace of just knowing that, hey, we were able to get through it, and it was never that bad.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited, man. Let's get started, man. There's a whole lot of stuff to go through. I'm really excited to go through these again and to tell people our story along the way. So
cool.
Why don't we go ahead and let's kick it off?
Let's go.
Hopefully you'll enjoy. Check it out. So these first couple of pictures are just Po and I in the truck on the way out. And I don't know if you remember, but just, the first initial thoughts leaving. I know we kind of talked about it. We had the anticipation of some things happening, but do you remember kind of like the initial thoughts as we were stopping to get stuff in Shelton, some last minute things to pack?
Provisions.
Yeah.
It was, honestly, my thought was I was excited. I was excited to get out there, but then looking in the back, in the rearview mirror, I'm like, man, that's a lot of stuff. Do we really need all that? No, we don't. But at the same time, this was our first time out. This is what I built this truck was for a little weekend camping excursion. Yeah, it's my daily driver too, but I don't drive it that often because she's a gas hog and she's a little thirsty. But it was really meant for this, for us to go up into the mountains, out to the beach. This is run, if not tens of hundreds of miles on the beaches, whether out in Long Beach or Ocean Shores, because it is just awesome out there. And then also going up into the mountains, going up into Bethel Ridge and some other places that we've been to, but we never did any camping with it. And so we finally finished some of the build on this. I got my roof rack and awning and my Roam case on the back with all my recovery gear. And it was like, okay, hey, let's start planning something. So as you can see in the back of this Suburban, there's a lot of stuff. Now, the type of camping that we do, I mean, you do not need all the stuff that we're going to allude to in this video. You don't. All you need is shelter, a good sleep system, depending on the type of weather that you're going to be in, and probably a good little cooler, and the size depending on how much sustenance you want to take with yourself. Do you need a cooler? Well, no, because as long as you got a water source, you can get water somewhere. And if you got a little burner and the like, you could bring freeze-dried food as well. So you can bring as much or as little as you want, but you just need to make sure you do your due diligence in studying where you're going to go. What are the temperatures like?
Time of the year.
Yeah, all that type of stuff, so that you make sure that the stuff you have is for where you're going to go. So, I don't have a rooftop tent because I'm getting old and I do not want to be crawling my big ass out from on top of my lifted Suburban at the middle of the night to go to the restroom. That's just not going to happen. Inside of here, I was going to actually make it to where I could sleep in the back, but just with how much stuff I pack in just driving around daily, making sure I have my tools on me just in case something happens. I've got an off-road jack because this thing's lifted. I've got an impact gun and a set of tools and just different things. If something happens, because you and I, we like to be prepared for stuff. We want to make sure that we're able to fix the truck if we need to. So then that takes up a good chunk. And then we had the rest of the stuff in there. And so sleeping in the Suburban, it could have probably been done, but it wouldn't have been as comfortable as the ground tent that we had.
Yeah. Well, and, I think as people are looking at this picture, it probably looks like a dump run because there's a lot of stuff in there. And there's a couple of haphazardly kind of thrown in bags that have just like dry food and stuff like that. But I think, a good portion of this, like you said, is that recovery gear. There's a full size spare in there. There's a toolkit, a jack for a lifted truck. So there's a lot of space that is taken up by some of this recovery gear that's not only there for a peace of mind for us, for if the truck breaks down and, something needs to be fixed, we have the capability to troubleshoot and possibly fix almost anything we can run into. Obviously, there are certain things, if a radiator blows, we're not going to be able to fix that, right? We're going to be hiking to go get some help. But that stuff's in there for us. But also, I love this, which is, I think, is a sense that we've kind of talked about that Dad has given us. But also having that stuff so that if while we're out there, while we're adventuring, when we're having fun, if somebody else's day is going sideways, they have a flat tire. They, go off and are in the ditch and need to get towed out. this vehicle is capable to do those things. Installed a winch on this thing. Like, we have all different kinds of pull straps and things that we can help people, come alongs to be able to get people out and help others as well. And our dad, I know, would be so proud of us for the fact that not only did we pack that stuff to also, to take care of us, because he would want us to be safe, but to always be thinking of other people that you could possibly help along the way. So yeah, we have a little bit of space taken up by some extra equipment that we may probably never touch, and we didn't need it, which was great. But I would rather have it and need it than need it and not have it.
Exactly.
So in this case, yes, it is pretty packed in there. But again, there's some extra stuff that we wouldn't necessarily normally take. What was maybe one of your favorite things that we packed? Like the number one thing that you're just like, man, I am so happy we took this. What would you say, Paul?
My number one piece was the awning, because this has an 8.5 by 8.5 foot widthwise, and it goes out 8.5 feet awning off of the passenger side, and I absolutely love that, because for day trips to the beach, anywhere we're gonna go, it takes less than a couple minutes to just rain that out, get it staked out, guy lines done and taut, and now you have recovered space. I don't care if it's sunny and 100 degrees out or it is downpouring. There is nothing like having just some cover from the elements. And I feel like that was my number one thing, because again, you're like, well, what about a tent? Yes, a tent is important. But let's say me and Noah just went up into the mountains for a day trip and something happened. We have the ability to create cover for ourselves if for some reason we needed to stay there. And then we would have to figure out, okay, what are we going to use to stay warm? Okay, that would just create a bunch of other solutions that we need to do. But at least we have cover, and we're protected from the elements. And so that was my favorite piece of kit that we took.
Well, that was awesome. And especially being in the Pacific Northwest, where 364 days out of the year it rains most of the time. That's the ongoing joke is, you don't like the weather in Washington, wait 5 minutes, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to change to raining. It does rain a substantial amount here, and depending on what area you're going to, we were over on the peninsula, where a section of the peninsula is rainforest. So this area does get a lot of rain. So having a covering, I think that was a great one. Having the covering was amazing, especially because we were able to set it up really quick, and it was an immediate no matter what. And it was nice when we got there. So we didn't necessarily need it, but there was some kind of security of knowing, okay, we have shelter of some kind. Obviously, we could have thrown the doors open and gotten in the car, started the car. We have warmth, we have shelter. But when we knew we were going to be staying, having that first little, okay, now we're a little bit set up, I think that was good. For me, I think the number one thing that we took for us, and again, it could have been just situationally, but the propane fire pit that we took. We took firewood, we did some regular fires, but there was something about waking up in the morning when it was frigid and being able to just have a push button heat source. Now, of course, we could have turned on the burner, the little kitchenette that we brought and warm ourselves up, but to have a specific little fire pit that was just right by us that we could kind of camp by while we're cooking or while we're just kind of chilling or just trying to warm up with a hot cup of coffee. I think that was probably the number one thing that I'm glad we brought was the propane heater. So
just to talk about a couple other things. So we made sure that we had food, plenty of food for our camping trip. Water source. Make sure you have good water. You're supposed to take on average anywhere from a gallon per person or more on your camping trips, kind of dependent on the days. So, we were gone for 4 days, 3 nights. We had a 5-gallon thing of water, and that was able to sustain us. Now, granted, we did get some running water from the river too, and cooked some stuff for that. We boiled it first, but. We were, again, right next to the river. Did we need that? Well, it was nice to have that that already ready to go filtered water that we're using for drinks and a little bit of cleaning here and there. But yeah, that 5 gallons lasted us a while. So yeah, just make sure you do your due diligence, and you don't need all this stuff to get out into nature.
Yeah.
Whether it's an overnight or multiple nights, just make sure, like I said, that you have a good shelter, good covering, some simple things that'll help you just feel comfortable while you're out there. And the biggest thing I think that people don't realize is make sure your sleep system is rated for where you're going to be. I think that was like, if I was to have another thing, was our sleep systems. Noah knew he had one of Dad's extreme cold weather ones. I didn't know in all of Dad's stuff that we still had here. I had one, and thankfully we both did. So we both had our mummy bags, extreme cold weather, and they did amazing.
Basically, a military style of
not a style. They were military.
So they're military sleeping bags, and
Yeah.
literally they zip up, so you only really have your face showing, so you can breathe, but everything else is enclosed. It can zip, it can button. And we lined the inside with a military wool blanket, and that made the difference, I think, for us. But yeah, I think, like Poa was saying, depending on what style of camping you're going to go do, because there are different types of camping, you don't necessarily need all this stuff. But we decided we were going to go in comfort. We were going to pack the type of food we wanted.
Yeah.
We weren't going to go out there and have,
no.
We packed some primo. Poa did a fantastic job, as you'll see in some of our meals. Did a magnificent job of choosing a great hearty meal plan.
Yeah.
So we ate like kings. So some of this stuff was a little bit, I guess you could say, glamping, a little bit, glamour
definitely.
camping. Like we were not going to rough it. We were going to go out there. It was going to be a challenge no matter what, but we were going to be comfortable. We knew that was going to be a good component to get us through some of the challenges we were going to go through.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we didn't skimp on the food.
Yes, amen to that, brother. Amen.
Yep. So from here, we just got on the road, man. So the next stop was High Steel Bridge. But there were some beautiful sights on the way out there, man. That whole countryside out by Shelton, there's a lot of really beautiful area out there. The hillsides where, you could see some of the cloud cover coming in over the hills. It was just really beautiful. And Washington in general really is beautiful. And I think that's something that we've gained all the years of living here, is an appreciation for this area.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and out here, okay, so here was really cool. Getting to the time of season that we're in right now, with it being, the holidays and the like. So you may be, a plastic Christmas tree person, which is totally fine.
We've never been that way.
We've never been that way. Our mother was raised on a tree farm out in Rainier, Washington, Sprowski Tree Farm out there off of Finian. Open first weekend after Thanksgiving. Make sure you get your tree out there. Unfortunately, Sprowski Tree Farm. Yep.
Get it.
So we always got beautiful manicured Christmas trees. Well, on our way out on this picture here, you see what looks like a tree/shrub. Well, there were a ton of people out there. Apparently, you have the capability to go out. I think you have to get a permit or something like that.
I think something. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, so make sure you look into that before you go down.
Yeah, don't be just going into the national forest cutting down trees. Please don't do that. We're not telling you to do that.
We did not tell you to
do your due diligence and figure out what you need to do. But yeah, there were a ton of people out there getting Christmas trees. And I thought that was cool.
That was really, really cool.
And so seeing these big bushes, shrub things driving, I'm like, what is that? That's someone's Christmas tree. That is so awesome.
It made us think of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Exactly. But I thought that was the coolest thing that we got to see out there, because again, this was the first week of December that we were out here, and you're right, man. That weather was absolutely perfect for us driving. It was beautiful. It was cold.
It was cold,
but it was absolutely beautiful out there, and I think that was one of my favorite things. Going in and seeing people on the side of the road, like, what are those guys? Oh, they're getting Christmas trees. Seeing people drive by with, on their SUVs or their minivans, a big Christmas tree that they just got from the National Forest. I was like, that's so cool.
I would also like to throw out a little bit of a warning, because I do remember seeing a couple of bow hunters out there. So if you are going to go out into these areas, do be careful, because some of these lands people do hunt on. So if you're going to go out and into the wild areas to cut down your Christmas tree, wear some bright colors. Pinks, oranges, yellows, something that will make you stand out. Don't go wear your camo out into the forest to go get your Christmas tree. You might get an arrow in the butt. So I just want to throw that out there, because I do think people need to be careful, especially out there, and be aware of the area you're going in for wildlife. There's mountain lions up there. There are things that Bears. Are out there. That's their home. Remember, you're going into somebody else's home to cut down a tree.
Exactly.
Just be aware. Beautiful area. And then, of course, we get to High Steel Bridge, which by itself was just an amazing place, man. This steel bridge is gorgeous. And, man, it was just an awesome opportunity. Once we got there, we kind of chilled for a little bit. We crossed over, so you actually can drive across this bridge, and then we parked on the other side. You got out your drone, I got the phone, and I caught just a couple of little. I did a little quick little clip just to
High Steel Bridge,
capture the capture the feeling of what it feels like to stand on the bridge.
Ooh. It's a ways down.
So what was it like flying the drone, man? I feel like it must have been pretty cool to go around and see stuff. I mean, I know you were kind of just testing it, but what was it like flying around there?
So my woman and I, in October, had done this run. I'm part of an overlanding group on Facebook, and there's one of the members, he sets up little day runs just all over the peninsula. And well, this one was to the High Steel Bridge as well as the Vance Creek Bridge. And so when we were going there, I didn't have the drone at the time. I was just thinking, man, there's some amazing viewpoints out here. Man, I wish I could see what this looks like from over there. So one of the investments I made for myself, yes, I'd like to say it's for the podcast, but no, it was really for myself, was to get some of these amazing shots of just the elevation and just the scenery you see when you're out there. But flying the drone, it was amazing. I mean, I'd be honest, like probably 75% of the time I was trying to, because again, I didn't fly it. I just pretty much unpacked it the night before, charged it.
Yep.
I driven drones like 10 years ago. But, I think it was more me being nervous. Okay, this is to go forward, this is to go up, this is strafing, this is turning my head left, right. Okay, just trying to remember that as I was flying. But still, it was absolutely beautiful, and I just love the vantage points I got to capture from it.
And then what a nice area to kind of practice, because it was in the open, lots to see, but also a lot of room for you to be able to kind of test the workings of that. Because I know those drones aren't cheap, man. So... But I think, sadly, I think we should insert it here. Sadly, the drone captures in 4K quality.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we haven't upgraded our system to be able to display that for you. So we have some phenomenal drone footage that, unfortunately, we are unable to share with you at this time. But we are hoping to have some of that as either some B-roll or even another episode to where we can just kind of share some of that because it really was gorgeous what you were able to capture.
Yeah, I think what I might do, I did throw up, I think on our podcast Facebook, there are some pictures I threw up from our trip, and those were from the drone shots. But yeah, I'll see if I can't get them uploaded to our page after we upload this as well, the videos.
Nice.
And just some of the sunrises we got to capture and the vantage points and stuff. So
you were saying that this is one of two bridges, like in Washington, that are like what the two highest of their style. What was it again?
The type of bridges that they are, and I'm not quite sure what that is, but the High Steel Bridge and the Vance Creek Bridge, of the types of bridges that they are.
So how they're designed and how they're built.
Yes, how the architecture for them or the engineering of them.
Okay.
They are the tallest, or they are the tallest bridges on the continental United States, and we have them here in the Pacific Northwest. High Steel Bridge being the first, Vance Creek Bridge being the very near second, because they are both built in the same style. And unfortunately, the Vance Creek Bridge is closed. And there are some amazing pictures that you can find if you just Google Vance Creek Bridge, and just people being able to walk out on it, because it used to be an old train trestle. It was the train crossing, whereas this was, I don't know if this was a train crossing that got turned into a road or an actual drivable one. But yeah, the other one was a train trestle crossing.
Gotcha.
And I don't know how many years ago, but here, just I think within the last 10 years, they've shut down access to the bridge. You can park and walk I'd say about a quarter mile, maybe a little bit more, one way to get to the bridge. But once you get to the bridge, you cannot walk out onto it. There's like razor wire around all the concrete pilings, and the approach from the dirt to the actual train trestle itself has been taken out and gotten rid of. So, and they have stuff posted everywhere that it's, what's it called? Off limits and
restricted.
Yeah, restricted access, and you can get fined a lot of money if you're found climbing up and around that stuff. That was a place, if weather permitting, it would have been cool to take the drone out just to see what that looks like.
Yeah,
but we didn't
maybe we'll do that another time.
Yeah, maybe we could do that another time, because when we were flying the drone around when it started, one of the days when it started raining, I was like, these sensors are just going off saying they can't read anything. So maybe this shouldn't be flown in rain. Lesson. Thankfully, I didn't have to learn it was too expensive. But yeah, I think the drone gives us great access to just different viewpoints of the beauty that's out there in the Pacific Northwest.
That's awesome. So we did take a quick little video of us in the truck on our way after the high steel bridge, and as we were kind of approaching our campsite, I just wanted to kind of get a quick little video in with Paoa, and so check this out. This is just us on our way from High Steel Bridge to towards our campsite. Check it out.
All right, Paul. First little tiny clip of us just going up. So explain to the people roughly about where we at.
So we're up in the Olympic National Forest. We're up on the peninsula. We just crossed over the High Steel Bridge, and we're on our way up to Browns Creek. Really cool campground up here. It's closed technically, but they have I think about a half dozen sites that are first come, first serve. So we're hoping we get one of those. If
Please be by the river.
Yeah, please.
And by the bathroom. Because there's a bathroom, right?
Yes.
The challenge is really going to be the temperature, I would say, right?
Definitely the temperature, yeah. Be mid-20s, maybe low 30s at night. So, I mean, you can see from the shot that Noah's showing you, it's pretty beautiful out here. So it's going to be a clear night, so it's probably going to be a little chilly.
Yep.
But that's what we got. All the firewood we got.
Got Dad with
Pop
us.
with us.
He's coming on the trip with us. And we'll film a little bit more about the purpose of bringing Dad with us this time because there is a backstory to that. So,
Yep.
love and aloha from the DaPoNoPodcast.
Aloha.
Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.
So, man, I think it's good for us to stop here. This is just a picture. So when we first got there, obviously you can see the pole. We have the awning set up, but this is when we're first getting set up. We're pulling stuff out of the truck.
Yeah, I think we pulled the awning out, staked it,
Yep.
got it set, and then we set Dad up because we got the chair out.
Yep.
And set Dad next to the river, and then we just started pulling everything out of the truck and getting it under the awning.
Yeah, I know we kind of went over a little bit of our favorite things that we brought. You know, you said the awning, and I said the propane heater, but I think we should take some time to just salute Dad, man. In all of his years of military service, he collected a lot of really just awesome stuff. You know, I don't know whether it was through surplus or whether, you know, Dad kind of had a way of, you know, if the military was throwing stuff into the dumpster, Dad was not above going in and grabbing some stuff and being like, what, you're getting rid of that? That's still good. I can figure out a way to use that. And as a kid, you know, we kind of made a joke about it. You know, Dad was kind of a pack rat. He would always bring in home stuff. And I know it bothered Mom. But some of this stuff that we gave Dad crap about, we literally brought with us and are so grateful for. So probably one of the top things I would say that I was grateful for would be those mummy bags and the wool blankets. As much as scratchy as those stinking wool blankets were as a kid, I hated them as a kid. But good gracious, do they insulate heat like nobody's business. And man, they were a saving grace. Those mummy bags were amazing. But to be able to line the inside and have something that was going to hold that heat as close to you as possible, that was amazing. So I would say those are probably two of the things I'm grateful Dad held on to for all those years. What about you, man? Anything that stands out?
Oh my God, the cots.
The military cots.
The Army military cots, dude. I remember when Dad brought those. He didn't always have those. Like, we didn't use those as kids, but it was when we used to do camping out at Lost Lake. That's when I saw him start.
We were young adults, so 20s.
Yeah,
like
20s.
Mid to late 20s.
Yep.
But we had kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and he would set it up, and usually we'd go camping in the summer, and he would set it up right outside and sleep under the stars, under a wool blanket.
Yep.
And everything. I was just like, Dad, you're crazy. And then after he had passed, here we have 3 cots. And I'm like, Dad, why'd you keep these? Why do we have these? And I didn't get rid of them, thankfully, because years down the road, I'm like, now I'm wanting to go out. And it was so nice being up off the ground. As many of the YouTube videos I've watched on overlanding and camping and backpacking and the like, insulating yourself from the ground's cold is one of the biggest things that will help you stay warm in a survival type of situation, or just being comfortable when you're camping in the frigid cold. Getting off of the ground is the best thing. And so when we had those, oh my gosh.
Game changer.
It was a game changer. And I'm like, Dad, thank you so much. Pops, thank you.
Well, and they're not the most comfortable, and if you don't have them set up properly, which we didn't, we couldn't get them locked, but we had them set up for proper use, or ish. But it was that sacrifice of being up off the ground, having a little extra storage, because now you're elevated enough that you can actually slide stuff underneath your cot, so you actually had extra storage area too. We had plenty of a walkway in between us. And I don't know, it was so awesome to have those to be able to rely on, to not have to worry about the cold from the ground. But I thought it was funny also because I told my coworker about this, and he's an ex-military guy.
Oh,
and so he was just joking around about when I brought up the cots. He was like, "Oh, is it the type that you got to snap in?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude." And we couldn't get it snapped, so we ended up just letting it hang off. And he's like, "You let it hang off the side, and you let it just kind of drip down." I was like, "That's exactly what we did." He was just dying laughing. So it was cool to have someone that wasn't there with us know the context of what I was explaining, and he was laughing because he'd done the exact same thing that Dad had done, and so I just thought that was really, really cool to share that moment with him.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, definitely thank you, Pops, man. This was definitely a special time, and I loved having him there. He spent a lot of time in the tent because the urn is coal wood, and I'm sure it's sealed and it's probably fine, but we didn't know how much moisture was going to be around, and it did pour down pretty good that first night, as you'll see in a little bit. Or no, night two is when night two is when it rained. But yeah, definitely appreciate all that Dad contributed to our journey.
Definitely.
So
glad we didn't get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
So glad.
And I think this first little video is us just kind of pulling in. I'm so glad. Oh, no, this is us kind of driving up still.
Yeah. So I had mentioned earlier how me and my woman had done this before. And so as Noah's taking this video, I was making comments about how different this looked. There must have been a storm or something because there were so many down trees. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, people who had been up there within the last month were able to clear it out because you could see fresh cut on these big trees that had fallen across the roadway. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. Make sure you bring the right tools for the places that you're going. And that was the one thing we forgot was a chainsaw. But thankfully, we didn't need it because of the great work that most likely the Forest Service did. So thank you guys for all that work and keeping that clear for us.
And for those that are even out there that aren't Forest Service that go up there, prepared like that,
clubs to be able to, and stuff, and organizations. Yeah,
I think that's part of kind of the preparation too. Is if you know of a way to get information of people that have already been there, that's a great place to start. So these overlanding groups on Facebook or anything like that, I think are a high recommendation.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah, it was just beautiful out here, man. And then here we go.
That's right. So we pull in. This was the last stop. So this is technically spot number 1.
Yep.
But the way that we came in, we started at the other end. And so we were seeing the other campsites first. And it was like they progressively got better as we got a little bit closer to ultimately finding our spot here. And man, I don't know. It was perfect.
So the area that we're at, we talked about it earlier. It's called the Browns Creek Campground, and there are multiple campgrounds on this area. But unfortunately, during the off season, you can only get to 6 of them, which are right on the riverbank, which is really amazing and beautiful. Unfortunately, it's a first come first serve. So we went out on a Thursday because we made an educated guess that hey, there's probably not going to be anybody in the middle of the week out there. But it was funny because when we first pulled into camp,
there was a group.
Yeah, there was a group. So when you're pulling in, you pull in actually over by campsite 6 and 5, and so 6, you cross this bridge. To the right is the gate to get into the main big Browns Creek campground. And there's a campsite right there, which is nice. Mm-hmm. But we took a left because I knew the site that I wanted to get to. And there's a big site right there on the left, campsite number 5. And there was probably like 3 or 4 cars there.
At least, yeah, 4 or 5 guys, setting up. And it looked like they were setting up camp.
That's what it looked like to us.
But by the next day, they were already gone.
Yeah, they were gone. Yeah, when we took our hike. So
I don't know if they were packing up and maybe we just saw it at a different time. But we passed by them and never really saw them again. So we passed by 6, 5, kind of rolled by 4, and there was just too much foliage from the road. I remember us seeing we were like, nah, I don't think that's ours.
Yeah.
Then we rolled by 3, and that one caught my eye.
Yeah.
I'm going to say because it's on a corner. You get to see a portion of the river right there. I mean, you have to walk down a little bit to get to it. Definitely further than we had to with where we eventually ended up. But I will tell you, I was kind of sold on that one.
Oh, definitely. And we'll see pictures of that later on when we took our hike, because we took some pictures from some of the other campgrounds. And you'll see what we're talking about, just how beautiful of a viewpoint it was. But I was sold initially when me and my woman came through that this was the campsite I wanted to be. Number one reason being is because it's the closest one to the bathroom. They have vault toilets, which was less than probably 50 yards from our campsite.
So explain to people maybe that aren't familiar, what is a vault toilet?
A vault toilet is what you'll find in a lot of national forests and I think state forests too. They're a glorified honey bucket.
With a massive, massive vault hole thing that your waste goes into.
It's not quite a cesspool. Maybe it is. I don't know. But hey, it's a place where you can go use the bathroom, and it has a door.
Yep, it has a lockable door. It has covering, so it's it looks like a small outhouse, but it usually has a men's and a women's, and these did.
Yes.
So it does have,
There's no
options.
Running water. It's just a toilet. So
it's just a toilet and then an air vent.
Yes,
coming out the top.
You feel the cold because there's vents everywhere to make sure it vents out, because I'm sure it doesn't smell too well if that isn't vented. But
it's frigid.
It's frigid in there. But that's why I chose the campsite that we did, because I really liked the view from campsite 1. But also because it was so close to the darn toilets, because at the middle of the night, if we needed to, it was not that far.
Yep.
But unfortunately,
they were out of order, out of service.
They were locked for the
season. So we went camping when the main campground is closed. And as Paul had alluded to, there's about a half a dozen spots that stay open year-round. You still have to pay for them, so please don't forget that. If you go to these places that are off-season, it doesn't mean that they're free. A lot of times, especially federal land, you still have to pay, so you need to find wherever that is. This little location had a nice little pull-out, little parking lot that has this little information board. It kind of tells you where the different hiking areas are, where the different campgrounds are. It gives you a map, but it also explains, here's how you pay if you want to stay during the off-season. And so you just fill out a little paperwork, you put your license plate on there, what site you're at, and then you have to pay a few bucks, and you just slide it into this little thing. So we paid, and unfortunately on our way over to pay, we stopped by the vault toilets and we discovered they were locked.
So that was
one of our first curveballs.
Well,
actually that would be number 2, because we noticed we lost cell service as soon as we came in through the valley, and then bathrooms were locked. 2 very good reasons in a normal society that we would want to, those are 2 comforts that a lot of us are not willing to be sacrificed, and so we could have went home. We could have probably went home, but we were like, no, we're going to push on through. And this was our kind of first reaction, first little video after we got camp all set up. Check this out. All right, we're all set. Got the fire going behind us. We got our cooking set up. We got a little awning, little chairs. There's the tent. Of course, there's the beautiful river right behind us. It's gonna be a good one. So you can already kind of see my breath in that, but as you can see, the moon's going down, or the sun's going down. The moon was burning through. Is that the moon? Or is that
no?
Is that the sun?
That's the sun dipping.
So that's the sun dipping down. Over on the other side, Poa doing his best to stay warm, get us some hot coffee, instant coffee, man. That was awesome. Something a little bit of a new thing for us.
Yeah, definitely
doing instant coffee. That was my first, man, to ever
do.
And it was definitely an adventure, man. I'm not a big coffee connoisseur. Mom would say that I am a foo-foo coffee type of a person.
Amen.
She was raised, as we said, on a Christmas tree farm.
Yeah.
So she was used to cowboy coffee. She knew, she grew up probably drinking black coffee, just a different generation. And so we got some, I think it was hazelnut flavored instant coffee and some Black Rifle coffee, and just mixed them. And it was actually pretty good.
It was really good.
Again, thinking of if we were in a survival situation, it would be amazing.
It's just something hot.
We were just camping, and so we were challenging ourselves to try something a little different. We pampered ourselves as far as the food.
Oh, definitely.
And some of the other drinks, I will say. They were very nice. But the coffee was amazing. So that first night, we did a little Kahlua and cabbage.
Yep.
And super duper grateful for my brother and his amazing chef style of cooking up stuff. And I think after this, we started to get ready. We got a fire going, and then we just started kind of winding down because it was a drive out. We got everything set up. We got everything paid. We got everything, unpacked and put where it needs to be. And that was a lot of energy, not too much, because it was nice being able to set up the type of tent that we got. Maybe we could talk about that.
Sure.
One of the amazing things that Poa invested in and got was this amazing tent. And for those of you who have ever tent camped, the style of tents that we grew up on have exterior, or their poles are outside of the tent itself, and so you have to get them out of the packaging. You got to elongate them. You got to connect them. You got to weave them through into your tent and get them situated enough to be able to insert them to be able to raise the rest of the fabric and all this other stuff. And it has to be done in the proper order, or else you got to take it apart and start over. This amazing thing comes from a design, right? This is an offshoot brand, but what is the?
So I don't know if this is the company I'm going to talk about is the ones who created this. I don't think so. I think this type of design has been out there. It's just finally being applied to camping and the like. But it's called a hub style tent, and so like Noah alluded to, all of those walls, everything is connected internally. All of the poles, the covering, it's all one piece. You just take it out of the bag, stand it up, sort of like you said, put it on your tent tarp, let everything fall out, and then you just start pulling out all of these big handles on the side, and you just pull it out, it pops, and then once you get all the walls up, you walk inside and push the top out, and boom, you have your structure up. The only other thing that we had to do was, of course, stake it out, but also the rain fly.
So this next video is just a quick one of us kind of just checking in for the evening. I think we are kind of wrapping up. So let's see what we say. Check it out.
Last couple pieces of firewood going on. Got the fire blazing bright. Poe, any closing thoughts for the first evening?
It's chilly. It's chilly, but nice.
It is pretty cold.
As long as you got a nice fire.
Yep, fire
dope.
is nice. I would say one thing to note is the sky is filled with beautiful stars.
It is so clear out.
It is clear, and it is just, every time we look up, it seems like the sky is just lit up with even more stars from the last time you looked up.
Yep.
It is just gorgeous.
And pictures don't do it justice. We've been trying.
Some is bad, but we'll
figure something out.
We'll figure something out. Yep. Day one. In the books. Ahoy ho.
So this is the next morning, man. Day 2. So we had our first evening, and although it was gorgeous, man, I just remember it being frigid. It was cold the next morning. I remember kind of waking up, and I remember kind of poking my head out of the tent, because I remember kind of pulling it over the top of my head a little bit.
You mean out of your sleeping bag?
Or sorry, yeah, out of my sleeping bag. And like I remember kind of peeking over and hoping you were still asleep. And I remember seeing your like barely open eyes, and I was like, dang it, he's awake. I was like, then I started feeling like I got to go to the bathroom. I don't want to get out because it was so stinking cold, man. But it was beautiful. I think we get a nice little capture of the river here. I tried to do kind of like a panning shot of the river every morning. And so this is just kind of my morning little shot of kind of just panning down. And then I think I do a quick little video kind of checking in for the morning here, as I tried to do each morning. And let's check it out.
All right, good morning. Day 2. Look at that sunrise in the back. Probably not doing it justice. Just coming up over the treetops. There's the hillside on the other side of the river. Just a beautiful morning. You can see the fog up over the hillside. I think we're actually going to get some sun breaks today, probably. Not too shabby. The overcast is nice because it's holding in the little bit of warmth that is left from having a starry, beautiful, open night, which just let all of the warmth just evacuate from this area. It was chilly last night. Already got the fire going, the propane fire. Trying to save our firewood for the evening fires, which are very nice, but it is really nice to have that little bad boy right there. Very nice.
So we were getting breakfast, man, and I think we'll pause here, man. Like, you did such a phenomenal job with our food. Again, I'm gonna say it, dude. Like, it was so nice to have this 2-burner system.
Yeah.
We did, obviously, as you can see from this picture, we brought some small propane containers. We brought a 7-gallon
Yep.
for our specifically for our portable heater, the little fireplace.
Yeah.
And so we never really disconnected that. And we used a few of these little green propane containers to be able to heat our stove. And it worked phenomenally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it did awesome. I love this burner especially because you can put 2 full-size pans on it. You can control the heat very, very well. Dude, we cooked rice on it, which we'll show later. And, usually with rice, you got to get it to a boil and then let it simmer. And a lot of these camp stoves can't really regulate their heat temperature. It's usually a lot of times like either barely
Fully
on
blast or
like medium high to scorched earth, it's like, but this thing, you're able to regulate the heat really, really well, which I like. And yeah, it's when I go camping, I'm sorry, I know that when we were younger it was very simple. It was hot dogs and other stuff like that, but hey, we're older, we're wiser, we have a little bit more means about ourselves, so dang it, as long as we make a plan for what we're going to eat, there's no reason why we can't eat like kings.
So this picture is us taking off. So day 2, Friday, we went on a hike. So we kind of buttoned up camp. We made sure, everything was kind of buttoned up and took some stuff with us. And we knew we wanted to at least go a walk around and go see the few other campsites. So campsites 1 through 5, we knew we kind of wanted to go back and actually kind of walk around them, not knowing if anybody was there, but we just decided to go kind of take a jaunt. And so got a little picture of us leaving camp, and then we got to some of these other pictures. So some of these are actually, I think, from campsite 3, where you have a couple of different viewpoints along the river that were just so gorgeous. And from where we were, if you were looking at the river and you looked to the left, that was where you would head back towards down some of the other campgrounds. And you could see from our viewpoint at our campsite, the river kind of bends around to the left and kind of disappears. So from site 3, you get to see where that bend ends up. And it actually ended up in a couple of really awesome spots for you to be able to run the drone over and see some really beautiful things.
Yeah. So in our opinion, again, there's 6 campsites that you can camp at. Number 1, I think, is by far the best because of how close it is to everything. You don't have to really worry about a lot of deadfall or anything like that. Those trees that are dead, and if a windstorm comes through, stuff can break. But site 3, I think, was the best vantage point because, like you said, it's from your right to your left. You're right on the bend, coming from the right, looking as it goes to the left, which this picture is, and then you can see the river jump back to the right as it swims out between the valley and the trees that are creating there in the picture. And it was just absolutely beautiful. Anyways, just finishing up day 2. Had a lot of fun. We'll recap it probably sometime tomorrow. For dinner, doing burgers, some nice Angus. I think I don't think they're quite half-pound burgers, but having 3 of them, nice and warm belly tonight. So hope you guys are having a good one, and talk to you guys later.
It's 8 p.m. Day 2. Got a real fire going. We put a pause on the other little fire, the propane fed one. Oh man, smoke in the face. Started to sprinkle a little bit, but because of the cloud cover, it's holding in a little bit of the heat. So I say heat because it's still cold, but it's definitely not as cold as it was last night. I'm actually hoping that if it's gonna, kind of drizzle or rain a little bit, at least that means, like I said, the cloud cover will hold in some of that temperature. So hoping for the best. Last check-in before the night. 8 p.m. Probably be going to bed here in the next couple hours. So, love and law.
Welcome back, everybody. Had some technical difficulties.
It's all right. We back on it. We had some technical difficulties in filming this, but that's all right. Great little transition for us to get right back into the craziness that was night 2.
Yeah.
So it started to rain. And we alluded to that in the video that it's starting to sprinkle, but it really started to come down that second night, and it was cold, man. Like, even though the cloud cover was holding in some of the temperature, like, I think there was a little bit of wind, not a lot, just a little bit of wind, and it was cold. And I think one of the things we had talked about was because we were set up on one side of a lifted truck, we didn't think about the airflow from underneath.
Yeah.
So yes, we had on the front side of us this propane, heater fireplace that was like nice, but we had this slight cold breeze coming from underneath the truck. So obviously we're going to have to, figure out some better ways of airflow for next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was chilly. It was getting rainy. And then all of a sudden, just saw something.
So we're sitting there, and I've got my headlamp on, and I'm just checking it out, just seeing what I can see. And out of the blue, I notice a pair of eyes, and they're looking at us, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, Noah, do you see that? And he's like, what?
It scared me, man.
And he's got his headlamp on too, and he's looking. He's like, I don't see what you're talking about. I don't see it. I'm like, dude, it's right there. Okay, just turn its head away. No, it's looking at me again. Dude, it's staring at me.
I was really creeped out, man, because I honestly did not see what you saw and at first. And we had a couple of cocktails. Like, we were enjoying our time there. We had a hearty, dinner. We were having fun. We were a little bit kind of when it started to rain, because we ended up kind of getting sucked underneath the awning, which was, again, nice to have.
Yes.
And we had that other, alternative heat source, because unfortunately, our fire pit, our actual fire pit, was out in the rain, and we didn't want to sit out in the rain. And so you're saying these things, and I'm thinking in my mind, like, good gracious, I am freaked out, because I don't know if Poe is hallucinating or if there really is something out there and there are these glowing eyes that he is seeing that I am still trying to locate.
Thankfully, he was able to catch it, because as I started thinking about it, well, of course, if I can see it, the way the curvature of their eyes, he's not seeing it from his angle. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I can't see it anymore. And he's like, I got it. I see it. And so I was like, oh, I'm vindicated that he's in this with me. And now what the hell? And we got to watch this thing, and we'll insert a zoomed in frozen frame. And
we'll catch a really good shot of it, but you can kind of see the general.
You can see the general outline of it. I'm pretty convinced it was a lynx or a smaller, like a bobcat or something like that. It wasn't a mountain lion, I don't believe, because again, just the framing of the face and the way my headlamp was hitting it, it looked like, how bobcats have those little tufts,
kind of pointy,
the tufts of hair that come off the side. That's what it looked like. So please, when you see that shot, please let us know what you think it might be. And the other scary part was the realization from the next day, because we followed this thing down the riverbank a while,
and it was on the other side of the river. Let's preface with that, like. When we saw it, we knew it was on the other side of the river, but there was a whole lot of landscape on the other side of the river. So we were trying to pinpoint it, and then it started to move. And not only move, but it was moving towards us along the other side of the bank, kind of panning along with us. And then eventually it started to move towards the riverbank and towards us.
Yeah.
Now we're like, uh-oh. It looks like it's a ways over there. I think we're still safe. Come to find out the next morning, as Paul was alluding to, the perception that you have at night, especially when it's dark and your light is trying to penetrate a distance,
Your depth perception
is crap. And it was not there last night because we thought we were way further away from this thing. Come to find out, when the daylight was showing us actually how close that thing was, it sent another shiver up my spine because I was like, it was like right there. And at night, you forget that some of this foliage, although it looks very substantial and dense from a ways away, there's no leaves on it. There's just sticks, basically a lot of intertwined sticks, and it can see really easily through that stuff. And you can, in the daylight, see through that stuff.
Yep.
So not only was it a lot closer than we thought, but it could definitely see us. And we had, again, 2 fires going, so bright light in the darkness. We had these headlamps on, so there were these bright lights that it was looking at, like trying to investigate, what is that? Just as much as we were looking at it going, what the heck is that?
Yeah. And then the rain just continued throughout the night. I think that was probably the most, I don't want to say it was miserable. It was miserable waking up to it. And then waking up, going to the bathroom, trudging through the mud, and it was just like, ugh.
Bathroom in the middle of the night was, so what was worse? Bathroom in the middle of the night when it was frigid cold, or bathroom in the middle of the night when it was kind of sprinkling and raining?
For me, because it was the cold and the rainy. I remember I can be wet and have it not be like frigid cold.
Yeah.
But it's the cold and the rain that I hated. And it was the rain. I didn't like that. I don't mind the cold because the cold's cold. I can rush back into my bed, and I'm not having to deal with the remnants of water on me.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't like the cold nights.
It was challenging,
cold, rainy nights.
But we did a little check-in in the morning, and it kind of explains a little bit about what we had to do. Like Poa said, we had to take a couple of measurements of some things that we miscalculated at first, and just had to problem solve. And I think we did a good job. Again, we had water in our tent. We were cold. We were wet. We don't like being cold and wet. So we had an opportunity to bail again. And I think we even talk about it a little bit in this video.
Yeah.
We considered it. So let's check this out. This was our check-in for day 3 in the morning.
Good morning. Day 3 had a bit of rain last night.
Don't minimize it.
It was quite a bit of rain. You probably can't tell, but the river level has definitely increased. The rate at which it's moving. I'm not sure if you could tell, but that little stump right there that you can see right here, and then technically there's this massive rock right underneath the water. Those were well more visible yesterday before the rain. Got a little bit wet, not too bad. We had to dig some trenches away from our tent to go down the hill just to get some of this little bit of pooling water to get off. Had to Luke Skywalker our firewood a little bit because it got a little bit wet last night, but we still have a bunch of firewood that we're going to try to get through so that we can minimize how much stuff we're packing out. Poe, how you feel like things are going, man? Day 3?
I'll be honest, man. I was this close to giving up. I'm like, man, this is
Really?
Do I really want to be out here? Well, honestly, because I was thinking in totality, because of like the water that was in the tent. It's like, okay, is that from us tracking it in, from having to get up and go to the bathroom, or we got water intrusion somewhere? And so, yeah, I'll be honest. I was like, damn, I should just go home. But
I did consider it myself, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. I was like, dude, it's raining, it's freaking cold, but
it's not as cold. Hey, so it's not as cold as it was our first day.
Yes, that was just about to say. It is not nearly as cold. It was frigid, biting cold
30s.
The previous night. Zero moisture, which was nice, right?
Oh, beautiful sky.
It was stars in the sky, but it was just frigid. All of the warmth on the earth was just escaping. And so now we have beautiful Pacific Northwest cloud cover. You can see how it's kind of fogging up the horizon over there through the trees. It's still beautiful though, because this is the Pacific Northwest. This is what we were born and raised kind of experiencing. And if anything, especially going out camping, we've been into some wet camping environments. So still more to come about bringing Pop along. We're going to film a little something special to retell the story of why we're reliving this adventure. So love and aloha from the DaPoNoPodcast.
Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.
Nothing like instant coffee in the morning. Protein shake for your creamer. Pretty good so far.
That was a nice little alternative, man, that protein shake. Yeah. So highly recommend if you need to pack some protein shakes, maybe even protein powder, again, have a water source to be able to mix that. But Mixing that in with some instant coffee was actually really nice,
it was
man.
so amazing.
Especially nice and hot. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. Speaking of hot, one of the things that we brought from home was a Costco pot pie, which we just created a small, again, our firewood was wet, but we did our best to make a little fire, make some embers. And then we took this aluminum foil pot pie and threw it in there, threw some coals on it, let it sit for, how long do we let it sit? It
was like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. We probably could have let it sit for a little bit longer, but as you'll see, man, it was like the perfect, especially after a wet night. Yes. It was a cold night. I think we were well into the morning, so we had already kind of done a few different things, but man, this was so satisfying. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to pack stuff, anything that you can take in aluminum that you could throw in a fire, or even bringing some heavy duty aluminum to wrap things in, potatoes, throwing those in a fire, amazing way to cook, those types of things. If you don't have a burner of some kind, aluminum, great way to be able to heat or reheat some other food. But this was a amazing meal.
So yeah, this was just a Costco pot pie that we had. We'd made it a couple days prior to that, and we knew we were going camping. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna toss it in this little loaf aluminum pan we got, throw some stuff on, and we'll just do it like Dad did, And Dad was big on making little aluminum packet meals where you do, cut up some sausages, like Noah alluded to, some peppers, little oil, some seasoning, throw that pack in the embers, and it was so damn good. So I figured, hey, let's do that with this pot pie. And yes, you're right. I wish we could have let it go a little bit longer, but man, we were pretty darn hungry.
We were hungry. We were ravenous. We were cold, wet, and I think we were moping a little bit at this point. But man, that meal really just hit the spot, man. It was so stinking good.
But it was right after this, though, is when...
This is when our propane, we didn't realize, so because the temperature dropped and we knew it was going to drop, we used our propane
fire pit a lot more
than we thought. Yeah. And because of the rain, we didn't burn as much firewood on the second night as much as we thought we would. Yep. So we used more propane, and we did. We used it a lot because we wanted to be comfortable. Yep. And so we ran out. And so it was shortly after this meal, we had another situation, what are we going to do moment of, bro, we don't have propane. Our firewood is soaking wet. Yep. We think we can dry it off, but we don't know how long that's going to last. We have a day and a half, and we're like, I don't think we're going to last. Or I guess maybe we had about a day, about 24 hours. Yes. And but we knew we had another evening. Yep. We knew we had another cold morning to where we're going to have the gumption and the energy to unpack and disassemble everything eventually. Yep. So we made the hard decision, and I am actually really proud of us for sticking this out. But
well, yeah, it was, you came up with it. You even said, I was surprised at it, but I was like, oh man, thank God. You were like, man, I'd be okay if we just, we packed it in, man. And I thought about it, and I was like, okay, the main reason why we were so against like going to do it, is because we were looking at what we would have to pack up and cover and do that just so I could leave and come back and then set back up. And the main thing was the awning, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I used my tarp as a tent tarp to make sure that, nothing punctures the bottom of the tent. So I don't have my extra tarp to help cover stuff just in case it rains. But thankfully it was cold. It was somewhat clear and overcast. I wouldn't quite say it was sunny, but it was overcast. And
you could see some of the sun. I remember seeing some of the sun because I remember thinking when I was there, I did see some blue skies. And I think you'll see it in because I captured a couple of little videos because eventually, I'm proud of us, we made the decision.
Oh, yeah. We packed everything. We packed the awning up, and I decided to go.
So, like I said, I took a couple of quick videos while I was just there on my own. And so let's just check out what thoughts I captured on camera. Check it out. Day 3, Saturday morning, and just enjoying the sound of the river going by. It's actually stopped raining. Still overcast over on this side, but as I pan around, you can see the blue sky up over the hilltop.
sun is burning through, so I'm hoping that we'll get a little bit of a break, longer extended break from the wind and the rain. Taking some time to do some scripture reading and some journaling, and just wanted to, record a moment of profound gratefulness of all that I have, the people that I have in my life, the opportunities I've been given, place to live. Just, I am profoundly grateful. And whether you're a believer or not, I thank the Almighty God that I have the life that I have. Definitely not perfect. A lot goes on the inside that people don't see on the outside. I'll just put it that way. And I think that's pretty common for most people, for most people's stories. But just a moment, wanted to capture it. Beautiful time. Pa'oa has taken off to go refill our propane. We used up our propane for our little propane fire thing. We used it up a lot faster than we thought we would, which is completely fine. And we're just solving the problem. I'm holding down the fort, holding our nice camping spot. We don't want to lose it to somebody else because there have been quite a few people going by. But he ran into town to also send some probably deserved communications, because we have no cell service up here. So definitely worth the sacrifice and the energy and the effort to be here. So love and aloha. Ahui ho. Wanted to do another little quick one. As you can see, I've kind of bundled up a little bit. Got my bibs on. Got my galoshes. My nice Gore-Tex jacket. Borrowing Pa'oa's hoodie. It's getting a little chilly. The sun, although it was burning through and blue skies, is on the other side of the hill. So we've already kind of gotten a sunset, because the sun's right there, but it is setting in the west, and it's not shining over here. So none of that warmth is making it over here. But you know what? Hey, it is not raining. That is the wind right now. So things are relatively dry-ish. The water in the river is still just going. Moving at a pretty good clip. Yep. Just waiting for Pa'oa to get back. And again, just profoundly grateful that I'm here, man. The peace and quiet is amazing. Being away from the work, whatever your job is, I highly recommend figuring out a time to get away. We decided in a more difficult time, that between fall and winter time, which is and can be more challenging because of temperatures and just challenges that come. But that's part of the adventure. Getting out of your comfort zone is a good thing. And I'm grateful for this opportunity, especially to have someone to do it alongside with, my brother. So, yeah. Anyways, love and aloha to you and yours. Peace.
So by this point, you had come back. We'd started up a fire because we were trying to get through a lot of our firewood, the rest of our firewood, and dry it off. But I was super grateful for it, man. And so the next couple of videos are just us after we've reset up camp and just kind of closing out the night. Let's check it out.
It is going to get cold tonight. And we want to burn off all of this firewood. So we're getting that one going. And we got our little kitchen area heated for right now. Yes, might be a little bit of a waste, but we went to all the trouble to refill our propane. And now Pa'oa is capturing some stuff on Zedron. Nice and toasty. Final evening. Got some dinner going. Oh, I can't see it too well, but it's rice pilaf and steak. Thank you again, Pa'oa, for doing an amazing job cooking. Grateful to be here. Looks like it's going to be another beautiful, clear night, but that means it's going to be a bit cold. So we are burning off the last little bit of our firewood. Got a nice firewood drying system because a lot of it got rained on, but we're drying it as we're burning it. So I think we're going to get to it. Yes, we did go and refill the propane. Thank you for coming back and getting to me. And then cooking dinner, of course. So really looking forward to tomorrow morning and get breakfast. And we're going to probably film something before we head out and get packed up. And then, maybe film something on our way home. Love and aloha.
We had so many embers in there. So even when we ran out of wood, the heat generated off of that was still good for probably another half hour.
Yeah.
And then we dipped back under the awning, because we were back by the fire pit. Because, hey, it can only get so warm with those little embers, burning. So.
So I did my little morning check-in for the last day. Let's check it out. Let's see what we say.
Oh, man. Day 4. We made it. 3 nights. 4 days. Chilling here. Browns Creek Campground. Site number 1. Definitely our spot. Check out this sunrise. Good gracious, and I'm blind. Beautiful day, though. It cleared up, so it was a bit chilly. But that sun has come up, and look at those blue skies. Let's go.
These next couple of videos are just kind of like, again, my morning pan of the river. And as you can see, the water level is much higher. Barely seeing that poor stump. And then you can see the actual
outline of the rock,
but there's no
deformation.
more. Yeah, there's no more little rapids over the top of it because it's so much deeper underneath that water. But yeah, definitely just an amazing place to wake up at.
Oh, definitely.
So this last day was really awesome. I mean, it was kind of bittersweet, but it was the culmination of, a lot of planning and a lot of things. And again, I want to give ourselves some damn credit that we had a lot of excuses and reasons to pack it up and go home, and we didn't. And, it might not seem like a big deal to some people, but it was a big deal to me, man. The fact that we did stick it out and stay there the whole time. So
yeah, it was. I think, like I said, like I alluded to earlier, this morning was absolutely beautiful, and with the way it was, I would have stayed another day. I definitely would have stayed one more night.
Yeah, I agree, man. It was gorgeous the entire time. Anything that you wish we would have done that we didn't really kind of get to do?
I wish it was fishing season. That would have been nice.
Yes. And we did discover that kind of late in our preparation because we planned to bring fishing stuff. But
when I was checking regulations for the stretch of the river that we would be on, unfortunately, it's closed.
So again, be prepared. Yes. Do your homework before you go out. Yes, it is a little bit of extra work, but it is well worth the effort and energy to do the preparation ahead of time so you can have a good time while you're out there. Because again, that was less stuff we had to pack.
Yeah, exactly.
Less stuff we had to worry about, less stuff we had to manage, less stuff we had to figure out a time of day when we wanted to, where to go do it, because there's proper ways to fish in a river. And
exactly.
I'm not a fisher person. Or a fisherman. I was really looking forward to learning some stuff and getting into it, because I know you really enjoy fishing.
Oh yeah, love river fishing. One of my favorites.
Definitely plan ahead, but again, it is well worth the effort and the energy to be prepared, because not preparing is preparing to, what is it, like not.
I always remember as piss poor planning makes for piss poor.
Piss poor preparation.
Something. Hey, just make sure you're prepared. All right.
Boy Scouts. I'm definitely editing this shit out.
Always be prepared as best you can, man.
I did like a couple of these last shots that I got in this little video, man, of just kind of looking up and just panning around and seeing kind of the collective beauty of the whole area. I really like this video just because, again, I kind of walked around and looked at the hillside, looked up and down the road, captured a little bit of the sunrise, got a whole bunch of the blue skies, got the river, got our campsite. It was just collectively, this was just one of my favorite videos just because it was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And I love just how, yes, we were right by a paved road, but we didn't have a bunch of traffic.
Yeah.
I'd say 95% of the time, it was just us and nature and the sound of the water and the wind and rain. That was it. Now, granted, sometimes across the river from us, there's that access road that's coming down that we took to leave. Now, granted, you could hear them coming down, and there was a couple times like Jeep clubs were rolling by.
Yeah, that was cool.
So we'd hear them rolling noise coming through, like, oh, here they come. And there's like 4 or 5 Jeeps. You know, they'd run by because they were going up into the mountains as well in some other spots. But yeah, it was really cool, quiet and peaceful. Yes, it's a campground. No, it's not dispersed camping up off of the side of the road, but I think this is the closest thing that to that, and I really enjoyed it, man.
Well, and I think what's really cool is, one, you look across from us and you would never know that there's a road there until you saw those headlights.
That's true.
And I think that's what's kind of cool, is that the beauty of the wilderness is it can kind of mask some of the stuff that's underneath with its beauty. But I think you said it, like, it was just so peaceful there, and it was so beautiful, and it was quiet. So much so, man, just check out just the sound of the river going by, man. I just love this sound.
Falling asleep to that was awesome.
That was pretty amazing, and waking up to that too. That was pretty amazing. So at this point, I think we were finally kind of getting everything buttoned up. We got everything broken down and into the truck, and we filmed a couple of quick videos before we left camp. So we got a couple of quick little videos, just capturing some of our thoughts, and then of course we had to take the moment to tell the backstory of really why we went out here, and we're trying to challenge ourselves in this way. So check it out.
So we got 4 days, 3 nights down. Got camp all cleaned up. Leaving it. Of course, trying to leave it better than the way you found it. So, any last words?
Eternally grateful, man. I appreciate you, Poe, for helping start the idea, and then actually organizing it. Hey, we actually had a dream and it came true. We made it come true. We just had to put the work together, and it took us a little time, but ultimately it was well worth it, man. Worth the challenge, worth the effort, the energy, just to come out. And
it was some old bullshit though, because it was like freezing the first night. Next night was like torrential downpour, where we woke up with some water intrusion in our tent, but it's fine. It's fine. Just a little bit. And then the next night we thought, oh, it's going to be beautiful. And it was. And then it started raining. Stupid raining. But thankfully, on this last morning, beautiful morning, it did clear up, and we're very eternally thankful. We're thankful for you guys. Hopefully you guys will like this little compilation we're going to put together, some voiceovers and blah, blah, blah. You'll see it. And you'll be like, yeah, but why are you talking about it? Because we already done seen it. So, I guess it's us signing off.
Ahoy-ho.
You're loving Aloha thing, man.
Oh, my bad. Maybe we'll have to cut that part out. Loving Aloha.
Oh,
Podcast. Now you see you've done walked all over.
Love you guys.
I feel compelled to do this because I was saying I was going to do it all weekend long, and I didn't. So before we leave, with Dad here, we'll put old present. The backstory for why we wanted to come out here and try to do something challenging when we knew it was going to be a colder weather and try to camp, bring Dad. Gosh, dude, do you remember the time frame?
Shit, I want to say I was like 11, so you had to be like 7.
Okay.
Or maybe I was 12 and you were 7. Or I was 13 and 8. It was
okay. Yeah. So we were younger.
Yeah.
And Dad took us out to Pacific Beach, which is north of Ocean Shores on the west coast of Washington. And
so Dad's a surfer though. He had done some surfing. Yes, he didn't have a dry suit. He had a wetsuit, but he would do some surfing. So he was like, "I'm gonna take my boys out," and we were like, "Heck yeah!" Continue.
So we end up at Pacific Beach, and there are some camping spots down really close to the water. There used to be. I'm not sure if there still are. But back then, we got a really nice camping spot, and I just remember seeing the ocean and hearing the ocean and just being geeked to be out there. And we grab our boogie boards and our shorts, and we just start trucking out there. Like we didn't really set up camp. We just went for the water. Yeah.
But we were going to camp.
Well, we were going to camp. Yeah. We had brought stuff to camp, and it was sunny when we first got there.
Yeah.
I remember it was nice because we were excited to get down there, but then for Pacific Islanders, the Pacific Northwest, the ocean water is
different.
It's a smidge different. It is frigid in certain areas, and at this time of year, it was cold. But we got out there and we tried. I remember trying. I never got up on any kind of a board. I think I maybe caught a couple of waves boogie boarding.
A little shore break.
But
yeah, we never got past because it was getting fucking our ass handed to us when we were freezing.
Yeah, and we bowed out pretty early.
Yep.
So we got out of the water. Yeah. Dad stayed out there for a while. He came in once he saw we were kind of miserable. So we go back to camp, and so we're thinking, okay, we're going to set up camp. We'll get a fire going. We'll get a place that we can get some dry clothes on. We had meals planned, or at least I think Dad had meals planned.
Yeah, it was like some hot dog, like simple stuff. We were just staying overnight.
Yeah.
That's all we were doing.
Well, then I remember the wind. The wind started. The rain was coming in sideways. I thought we attempted to set up our tent, but I don't think we did. But I think Dad maybe tried to start cooking some burgers or something.
It was so fucking windy though, dude.
Yeah.
It was windy and like biting cold, like it was here.
Yeah.
But it was windy and wet. It's that wet ocean mist, and with the wind and the temperature the way it was, I'm sorry. At 12 or 13, it was absolutely fucking horrible.
Yes.
Hated it. Loved being
bad.
there. Loved being there.
Love you, Dad, for the thought.
Yeah, Pops. The thought.
Yeah. The intent
was great.
Beautiful. Execution was a little lacking.
Now, granted, he didn't have the
He didn't
interwebs.
know. He didn't know.
He didn't have access to the
he didn't
interwebs
know.
and what was occurring.
It was a different time.
A totally different time. But, good Lord, yeah, it was horrible.
So, all of that is to say, this trip was a culmination, and I think just in a roundabout way, our little salute to Dad of, hey, you know what? We bowed out once, but we are formidable people, and we can put ourselves through some challenging situations and make it. Yep. And Dad was here the whole time, so I think it was special. It was awesome. Thank you, man, again.
Oh, of course,
dude,
man.
for putting this together.
So fun.
Thanks, Pops, for coming with, and hope y'all enjoy it. Love and aloha from the DaPoNoPodcast. We hope.
So, okay, we didn't really, this is a PS or add-on to the what we just said. But we really didn't say what we did.
Oh, that's true.
So, Pacific Beach, we were like, Dad, we want to go home. And he did try to valiantly stay and say, you know, we can do this. But in my heart of hearts, I really think Dad was okay going home, too, because he was frigid as hell, too. The homeboy's lips were purple. Yeah. And I ain't never seen my dad's lips that purple in a while. So, yeah.
I think that was Dad's military training trying to kick in. And maybe just that, hey, I never thought I could, but I actually can kind of attitude. And maybe he was trying to prove himself to us as boys. But Dad was going to be Superman to us regardless of if he was going to spend the night at Pacific Beach or not. So, man, Pops, we love you, dude. And
love you, Dad.
I
hope you had a good time with this. A little more well-planned, thought out, because, hey, we got access to interwebs and all that.
Yep. All right, man. Love you, Pops.
And thank you for all the stuff that you've kept, and we're like, wow,
oh, my goodness. Yes, we're going to go over a list of stuff that we brought that we maybe didn't think that we maybe need next time. And then we have a wish list or a hope list for, we probably should have brought this. And we'll discuss that with you. So, I know from the DaPoNoPodcast, ahui ho.
Ahui ho.
So, man, that was our last little video before we left camp.
Yeah.
And I was glad that we even took some time on our exit of the area to try to just capture some of the beauty along the way. And so we got a couple of videos of us just kind of driving out, and I was just trying to capture as much as I could because it really is just a beautiful area. So here we're kind of just exiting a little bit further upriver from where we were, and then this is the bridge that crosses over that we took that picture on, and that's actually the direction that the picture was taken, was looking back that way. So our campground's back behind us now, and then I'm just kind of capturing some of the hillside that we were looking at the whole time across the river. So this is the hillside that was our view, and now we're kind of driving out of the valley, and man, it just a beautiful area.
Yeah.
Loved all of this, man. It was so nice the whole way up there. I think we captured a couple of really nice pictures here of some really cool little outcroppings of some waterfalls.
Going up to Spider Lake.
That's true. Yeah. So as we exited, we did kind of discover, we were looking on the map, and Poet's got this awesome app that we were able to find that there was this place called Spider Lake. And so we kind of started taking some of these little roads, these little forest roads, and tried to follow this path up. And it was cool because there was a lot of different options where we could circle out and go a different way. And so we tried to head towards this Spider Lake, ended up not finding it, but we found some really cool little spots to just pull off and see some of those hidden gems, these little waterfalls, little waterways that maybe didn't exist before. Maybe they're a storm or exactly. Knocked down some of these trees, but it was just gorgeous out there.
And what's just cool is that just how these things change from day to day, season to season. We may come back next year and it doesn't look like this.
Yeah,
that's what I like. What we got to capture in these little moments there's a good chance that it will never look like this again.
Yeah,
so that's one of the things I love about being out there is the moments we get to capture. They're for us, and they're probably not going to happen again, ever. So.
Well, and that would be so cool to go back up there and maybe try to find some of these spots and take a look at it. But even then, you have that memory, and we have that capture now of how beautiful it really is. And I think this is also another area, not just by a river, but if you can find any kind of running water, like this is just a little creek / runoff from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think the sound of these is also just as beautiful as a running river, man. And so we captured a couple of little clips here of just the sound of some of this running water, and I really think that it's really, really beautiful. Check out a couple of little clips, and then we'll kind of wrap things up with the last few pictures we got. Check this out. Probably not the best quality of sound, but you can get the gist of it, and especially seeing the beauty in the pictures of it. This was a nice little picture that we took of this little bend. That's actually the river that we camped on, but we're now elevated up away from it, and this was just kind of a little spot in the trees that we pulled off and took a couple of pictures.
We were able to look back down,
Yeah, it was just really beautiful. And so it's a couple more last little shots. I think we got another one more of the bend, and then just one little shot of Put One Eye kind of closing things up. And that was our trip, man.
Do you want to go over real quick just some of our lessons that we learned and some of the things that we packed and took?
Yeah. Let's take a look at we not an exhaustive list. We were kind of doing this as we were navigating, just unpacking stuff. And so again, this hasn't been very well thought through, but we just kind of made some notes of some stuff that we wish we would have brought, or we wish we wouldn't have brought, or maybe just for this specific context didn't need, and kind of a little bit of a wish list. So nice to have. We only have 2. Again, that we threw on here. So bigger plates.
All right. So we have a little camp set, and for the food that we made, the plates weren't big enough. I mean, when we had ribeye steaks and rice pilaf, unfortunately, it hurt my soul. I had to cut each of the steaks in half and then put just a little bit of rice on there. But, okay, in hindsight, the positive behind it really helps control our portions. I got to say that. But I think it would be nice to have some bigger plates so that when we have burgers, we can have burgers and some other things with it, not just the plate being able to hold just our burger and our Kaiser roll bun.
Now, survival-wise, I think those little plates were perfect.
Oh, absolutely perfect.
But we were not trying to survive. We were trying to camp. So we were trying to be comfortable. And again, that was the one thing we weren't sacrificing. We were going to eat like kings. So yes, we would like some bigger platforms to be able to put more food on. So number 2 was a bathroom pop-up.
Okay. Because of the fact that, I have one. I have a privacy little tent and a little chemical toilet that is meant for overnighting and camping. Because of the vault toilet situation,
We made an assumption.
that, hey, yeah, those are going to be open, or hey, the ranger will probably open it when he knows that there's campers around. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. So that would have been nice to have.
Yes.
But again, because I would have hated to have packed it and the vault toilet to be open.
Yep. Then
because
wasted space.
And it forced us to, okay,
We got to troubleshoot.
we got to troubleshoot and figure this out. Now everybody knows what you're going to have to do to figure this out. I don't know if we really need to go into it, but
We dug a hole and we pooped in the woods. We squatted.
and we didn't leave anything that was brought in outside of. Anyways,
We packed out mostly what we packed in.
let's just say that. All right.
So that was definitely high up on the nice to have.
Yes.
We didn't put need, which I think is good for us. We don't necessarily need that because we proved to ourselves we can dig a hole and we can squat in the woods.
Yeah.
It
If we go
wasn't
camping with the women, okay, we're definitely bringing that.
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily fun, but I put myself in the mindset of like, if I had to do this,
I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not comfortable, but this is how our ancestors did it before there was, interior, plumbing.
Yes, exactly.
So
sewer systems.
Yeah. So, we are still formidable people.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into our need list. So
Yeah.
these were needs. So I think we really wish we would have had these.
Yeah.
Not just these would have been nice to have. This is, man, I think we really needed these.
And again, this is needs built on what we wanted to do and
Yes.
what we wanted our experiences to be. Again, you may not need this stuff, but it may be something to think about. Maybe next time I'm going to think about taking that.
Yep.
So that's all this is. It's just a suggestion, but this is definitely something that we're going to earmark that, hey, next time we go, we're going to pull that list out. Hey, man, did you get that? I got them.
Yep.
All right.
All right, number one on here is metal soup bowls.
Yeah.
A bowl of some kind would have been nice.
Yes.
Not necessarily a need, but
yeah.
I think there is something nice about having, your food not possibly falling off your plate. Because especially when you're scratching around the rice pilaf and the steak, man, instead of just scooping it up and just horfing it into your mouth, you got to kind of slowly make sure the fork doesn't push it too far because it might fall off the plate. No. So having bowls would have been nice.
Yes, it would have been.
I think those would be good. Yeah. So, cutting board.
Oh,
that was a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully for the camp table you bought, we were able to use the plastic side, and we just made sure to clean it when we cut, whatever was on there. But yeah, definitely want to make sure next time I bring in a really good cutting board.
All right.
And that'll go in the kitchen box.
Good. All right. So you put hot liquid pouch
Yeah.
for cocoa instant coffee and tea bags. So let me pause on the cocoa instant coffee and tea bags. Highly recommend. Take a Ziploc bag.
Yep.
Take whatever it is of those three. So cocoa, instant coffee, and tea bags, because I think having an assortment, regardless if you like them or not, when you're camping, you're not always going to get exactly what you like. Now, if you want to foo-foo coffee it, pack up whatever you want. But if you're just going to go for simple stuff, at least do a couple of tea bags, some cocoa, and some kind of instant coffee, because it really does make a difference to have
really does.
hot liquids in you.
Yes,
So,
it does.
So what about the hot liquid pouch? What were you talking about?
Okay, so I had invested in right before we went camping. One of the YouTube channels I follow, the Outdoor Gear Review. If you ever want to look for
Highly recommend.
some good survival stuff and just a lot of great reviews on camping equipment, and it's not expensive stuff. He does go over some high dollar stuff, but he also does a lot of very budget minded things you can buy off of Amazon, off of Temu, and all of these other type of marketplace websites, because he wants to check it out. How good is the quality? Some of it's pretty darn good, some of it is meh,
questionable,
and he'll tell you stay away from it. But what he has a lot of is these individual little packets and they're purpose built. And so I had created one for lights, and so that's what has our headlamps and little magnetic lights that I can put on icebox for lighting outside. I've got one for fire, so that, hey, it's got our fire starters, different types of ignition. I got flint and steel and lighters in there. But this one I think would have been really good to have, is just a pouch. And these are waterproof canvas style pouches with a really good zipper. And so there's not a lot of water intrusion that can get in there, but it's just something that I feel like was purpose built for this is just things for us to have hot liquids. And so I'm going to make sure that I pack a bunch of tea, go buy a little pack of, what is that Carnation hot chocolate, put 8 of those in there, and then buy a couple boxes of the instant coffee, throw those little individual packets in there, and boom, we've got all different types of hot liquid that we can have when we're out there when we boil our water. So,
well, and those pouches were amazing, man. You invested in a whole bunch of different sizes and kinds, and dude, we utilized so many. You gave some to me to help pack. Well, you just gifted some to me, and I used like 3/4 of them to pack a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm still finding ways to utilize. So those little waterproof little canvas pouches, I think, are a great way to minimize the amount of stuff that you're packing, because then you can actually specific, like you did, you labeled like, hey, this one is for our action cameras, this one is for cooking utensils, this one is for lighting or whatnot. Yeah, this one's fire starter stuff. And so it was really cool to know, like, hey, dude, can you give me the fire starter stuff? And I would just go look for the different canvas bags, and there it says right on it, fire pouch. And so it has everything I need for fire starting. So definitely, I think, worth the investment. Broom was the next one. We definitely just kind of just forgot that one. And with how much you were going in and out, depending on what your area is, it was pretty muddy because it had rained, and so we were tracking in quite a bit of dirt. It would have been nice to be able to kind of clean out the tent a little bit more than we did. But
well, even in dry times, you're gonna track particles of dirt and dust, pine needles, and that type of stuff in there. So bring in a nice little. You don't have to be a full size broom, but just something to be able to sweep out your tent once you've cleared out all your stuff. There is just something very nice, especially when you're getting ready to pack up and move on, or either getting ready to store it when you get back home.
Yep. We already said it's one of our number one things. So we put space heater on here. We already highly recommend bringing a propane fire pit, if especially if there's burn bans. A lot of places will, depending on where you're at, how severe the burn ban is, a lot of places will let you still burn a controlled fire source for heat, but also double check that. But space heater was one of the needs.
Yeah, so the space heater, I think, was a little bit more than the fire pit. So what I meant by that is, so we did have a small little what are those
attachment.
1 pound attachments that go on top of the propane for a little radiant sort of heater thing. It took a minimal amount of the edge off, but the reason why we used it in the tent was to help try to dry some of the moisture out that was in there. But what I really want to get is one of those Mr. Buddy heaters. The thing that's great about those is, yes, they're propane driven, but they've also got CO2 warning systems on them, to where if they sense too much CO2 in an enclosed space, they'll shut it off. I don't think we'd really need to worry about that in our tent because of the amount of ventilation in there. But that was what I really would have liked it for, is like if we would have had all 3 nights, like the first night, I think
had a warm tent to go into.
That would have been very, very nice. Like you said, before we're getting ready to go to bed, maybe an hour, go in there, crank that thing up, let it get the thing nice and toasted. We walk in, shut it off, get into our mummy bags, and we probably would have been very comfortable. And then the next morning, one of us gets up to go use the restroom or something like that, turn it on so that way we can warm up and get dressed in somewhat of a warm environment, and then shut it off and be ready to go for the day.
Yeah, definitely. So you said that was a buddy heater?
Yeah. I think they're called Mr. Buddy heaters. They're little.
It's like green. A red.
Yeah, red, and the green one's a little bit bigger, but they're pretty inexpensive, and you can buy them used too if you need.
And they just take the small little green, little propane things. Okay. Towels, man, we totally dropped the ball on this. We planned to do a cold plunge, cold plunge, polar bear plunge, whatever you want to call it. And we would have done it. I think I would have done it still. If we would have had towels, just because it was about a 6-foot drop off. So we'd had to climb up a little embankment to get up out of the river, up to where our heat source was. And without towels, like trying to climb up that dirt and rocks, like in a frigid state of just coming out of freezing cold glacier runoff, that would have been pretty challenging. I think the towel just would have been something to help take the edge off a little bit, enough to make that a little bit more bearable. But maybe I'm just making excuses. But we didn't have towels, and so we definitely put that on the list of, dang it, we need to bring towels for next time. Because again, as people who our lineage comes from people that are around water, we have an affinity for water, whether or not it's tropical or whether it's glacier runoff. For some reason, we're drawn to water. And so we love being in and around water as much as possible. So you got fleece blankets, but I think you meant wool blankets on this one, right?
Yeah, I meant wool blankets.
So the military ones that we got.
Wool blankets, yep. I said too, you mentioned, hey, I got a second one. I can always get. No. Keep those for you. And they're inexpensive. And again, I never had the context of what they were really good for until this trip. And now I'm freaking sold on them. And I need to get a couple at least because those are definitely going to go in the truck. Not even just my camping stuff. They're going to be in icebox in the back with my tools and everything else.
Surplus road.
Yeah. Foxhole up in silicone. We're coming.
Let's go. All right. So awning or lean-to poles. So we already had the awning from the truck, but this was more about a secondary kind of lean-to. So what was the idea behind that?
So the thing about that was, if you're out and let's say you don't have an awning, one of the other great things that you can build, and again, look on YouTube, is you can take a tarp. You get guidelines and stuff, tie it off to trees, and then you can use the tent poles or these expandable poles that are meant for using either as a ridge line or just using to prop up sides of a tarp so that you have a way to walk underneath it. So that's mainly what it was for, is just to find some inexpensive, like 8-foot long adjustable poles that I can take in the case where, hey, you know what? We're just stopping here for a little bit and it's sunny out. Let's, we don't want to undo the awning, but let's just put up a quick little lean-to. It's something pretty quick you can affix. And then, take down and fold up and toss in the truck and be ready to go. Or again, if you're out in the wilderness, you can set up a nice tarp and have, again, cover.
And I think for our situation, what we started thinking and brainstorming was having a secondary kind of area, so that we could scoot some of the stuff out from underneath the awning. We could have our seating a little bit closer to the truck. We could pull the fire a little bit more in. We have a little bit more storage, we felt like, and a little bit more of an area to actually cook in and whatnot. And it would create a little bit of a wind barrier. Because
big thing.
that riverside, we were getting a little bit of a kick up of wind, and it was a little chilly. So having just a little, a lean-to, a barrier to catch some of that, we thought would alleviate some of the cool air coming through. But definitely something we would look into. Carabiners for table to hook stuff to. The type of table that we had just had a lot of these little hooks and little eyelets. So we just thought, let's get a bunch of dollar store carabiners just for utensils and stuff, things that we didn't want to have to store on top of the table that we could easily just let dangle down, and especially after you're done washing it, let it just drip dry. So just hanging stuff up, even towels, stuff like that. So we put on there some carabiners. So we stopped there. We did leave a bullet point to keep going, but obviously we didn't, like we said, this isn't an exhaustive list. But it jumps down to the next bullet point of don't need. So we put on here one big set of pots and pans. So one of the things that we packed was a massive, big kind of cooking bin that had a whole bunch of different sets of different things. We also transported some of our mini propane in there too, but we overpacked some of our cooking stuff. And so I think we were just making note that we have kind of a little set of pots and pans that is more for like a backpacking individual kind of thing. And then a good solid set of pots and pans for when we actually want to do camping, overlanding, or dispersed would be definitely ideal for us.
And just so again, like we've alluded to throughout this, is just making sure you're packing for the conditions. We have totally been telling you from the beginning, we overpacked for this. But I think through that overpacking, we were able to know that, hey, we can pare down this, and so just making sure that, again, that when we plan to take the type of trip we're going to do, we need to make sure that we pack accordingly, so that way we're not bringing too much stuff with us.
And then the last thing we have on here is just dedicated cooking utensils.
Oh yeah, so that was one of the things. I had bought some cooking utensils prior to us going, some nice silicone ones, because I figured that we could use them for cold cooking and hot stuff as well. But I also had Dad's big stainless steel army utensils. Is pretty much what I used for everything. And it would have just been nice to have something pared down a little bit smaller. And I'm thinking again of the little packs that I have, those little pouches. It would have been nice to just cut down some cooking utensils, specific cooking utensils, and I could keep them in there. Whereas these ones I have, they're freaking a foot and a half long, like big stainless steel spoon. I'm like, I do
They're
not
awesome,
need this. They're
but-
awesome. When we're cooking for like hundreds of people, not for just 2,
Yeah.
4. So yeah, making sure again we pack for the type of situation that we're going to be in, and I really can't wait for our next one, man.
Yeah, dude. If anything, this just got me more excited to want to do this again. So, who knows, man? You guys might be seeing a couple more episodes of us going out and adventuring, man. I think there's a whole lot of the Pacific Northwest we would love to adventure, and eventually, I think it would be nice for us to maybe get back and maybe do a little bit of exploring back on the homeland, man, and back on HI, and maybe. We do have some upcoming family events and some ideas of possibly wanting to try to get back. So maybe that's something for you to look forward to in the next year. And speaking of the next year, bro, I am actually really excited. This is kind of bringing to an end 2024. This is our last little kind of journey, or little adventure for the end of this year. And so, any kind of closing thoughts for 2024 as we get ready to launch into 2025?
I don't know, man. I'm just really excited to see where this podcast goes. I'm really excited for some of the different segments that we have planned where it's just you and I. But I'm also really excited about some of the stories that we're going to get with some of the guests that we have scheduled so far. And I just really can't wait for honestly, the holiday season to be over so that we can do some of these other stories and collect those things. And like you alluded to, we're hopefully planning to be back in Hawaii. We'll be back on the Big Island hopefully around July, the first week of July, for a family reunion.
Yep. And
so we're hoping to capture some great content and stories while we're there. And can't wait to bring you guys along with us.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming along this journey with us, our little winter camping trip of 2024. It's been an amazing journey in just these first few months of the Pono podcast. And again, we already got guests set up for 2025. Look out for those episodes.
Yep.
And keep an eye out just for some more communications from us. We're trying to do a little bit better about actually just posting other things other than just our episodes. So be on the lookout for those. More information to come out. And love and aloha as always from the Pono podcast. This is Po and No. We love y'all.
Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.